friends. Welcome to the LeggLife Podcast. My name is Adam.
My name is Sherry.
Sherry Beth, what episode is this?
166.
Well, we did it again. We missed a few weeks.
Whoops.
Gosh darn it.
I know.
Here's the thing. Life has been so busy. And I know that's not an excuse. Here's the thing. I hate when people use the excuse of busyness because we're all busy, but we've been busy.
Yeah, you've been out of town. Like, we've been busy.
And actually, I thought about recording this episode by myself last week in Nome. Sherry and I actually talked about it. Mm-hmm. And I was just going to record this episode by myself. But that felt weird to me because I wanted us to talk about this for each of us, not just me for it to talk about for myself.
Yeah.
So decided to put it off a week and wait. But we are back, episode 166, gosh darn it. And you guys know that we spent a month plus in our last series, which was basically like things we wish we knew before, right? Things we wish we knew before we were married, before we chose a career. And that was super fun. Mm-hmm. This is not going to be a series, I don't think. I think this is just going to be a one-off episode.
Yeah.
But I had the idea for this episode when I was in Seattle recently, because I learned something about myself that I've been thinking about a lot. And I thought, I'm 45 years old and this is something new I think I discovered about myself. And I thought, oh, maybe we should talk about that.
Yeah.
And so then we decided to kind of both share basically things we have learned about ourselves, or not things, like a thing we've learned about ourselves.
Yep.
So
Recently.
So we're just going to talk into one. And Sherry, I think I will go first because it kind of sets the stage as to how we even thought about this podcast.
Yep.
So if you watch our YouTube channel, you will know that a couple weekends ago, I went down to Seattle by myself. Went there for a Lumineers concert, ended up fitting part of a Seahawks game in. Just got to explore the city by myself, did a bunch of touristy things by myself. And it was a really amazing trip. And here's the thing. I travel by myself fairly frequently for work, but very, very rarely for pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm normally with, obviously, most of the time you. I took my dad down to a Seahawks game last year. I've done other trips with friends. But a trip by myself is not something that I really ever do for pleasure.
Right.
And here's the thing. It's not something I really even consider doing because in my mind, here's what I think. Well, we all know I'm an extrovert, so I love being around people. And so obviously I'm going to be with people as much as possible. So why would an extrovert who loves people travel by himself?
Why wouldn't you want to go with all of your friends Yeah,
that's exactly right. Like, hey, group trip, let's go. But the thing that I learned about myself, and there's kind of multiple things in this, is that I really need alone time when I travel. Not when I travel. I need alone trips.
Yeah.
Like specifically a trip by myself.
Because we'll talk about the difference.
We're going to talk about this. So this trip, even though it was like 2.5 days, you guys, it was so relaxing. It was so renewing. It felt so different to me. And I was like, why? Like, there's literally nothing I did on this trip that we haven't done before. Concerts, sporting events, like touristy activities, walking around a city. Like, why did this trip feel so different? And so that's kind of what I started to process, which is what led me to this podcast episode. Like, what I learned about myself. And what I learned about myself was this. I am an extrovert. But I'm also an Enneagram 2. We've talked a lot about that. Enneagram 2s are people who care for others. We're the helpers. Mm-hmm. And so if I am with somebody else, I am always thinking about what they need. Like, so when Sherry and I travel together, I am always thinking about what does Sherry need to do today? What are things that Sherry would want to do? What would make Sherry the happiest? I wonder what Sherry wants for lunch. I wonder if Sherry needs me to stop and get her coffee. Are there bookstores that Sherry wants to go to? And the same is true with anybody I travel with.
Is Sherry walking too much? Is she?
Is Sherry walking? But like even with my dad, okay, what are we doing with my dad? Like, how's his energy doing? What do we need to do? Like all of that kind of stuff. I'm thinking about the other person exclusively. But here's the thing, as an Enneagram 2, I genuinely love that. Like, helping is life-giving to me.
Yeah, this isn't like I'm just constantly thinking about other people when I'm ever going to get my turn. That's never, that's not the thought in your head.
No, I really do love it.
Yeah.
But what I've realized is I need a break from that.
Yeah.
And so on this trip, what I learned about myself was that me being an extrovert, there is a difference between being with people and being around people. So when I am with people, my Enneagram 2-ness comes out and I think only about them. When I am just around people, like on this trip to Seattle, I met lots of new friends. Like I would sit at a bar and I'd talk to them. Like I would talk to people in line. All the people around me at the concert I got to know. My gosh, there was a couple from Minnesota. There was a couple in front of me from Vancouver. There was a lady next to me who was a nurse. There was I get to know all of them. I just make friends. But the thing is that because I'm around them, not with them, I don't have to think about what they need. None of those people was I like, oh gosh, can they see the stage? I wonder if they need me to like go get them a lemonade. I wonder if, I didn't think about that because I was just around them, not with them. Mm-hmm. And so for me, going by myself let me still be around people, but I didn't have the Enneagram 2 weight of being with people. And so I was just able to do whatever it is I wanted. And so rarely do I ever think about what it is that I want.
To the point that, like, there were a lot of times that you called me on that trip and you were just like, I'm panicking a little bit. What do I do?
What do I do, Sherry?
Like I have all day. What am I supposed to do?
But you know what was so great was that, like, one morning I went and I got an iced coffee at Storyville, and I just sat outside and I just sat there and watched. And I was in silent and I just like watched people walk by. And it sounds so weird, but like I was like, oh my God, I love this. And then it was like, last minute, oh, I want to go to the aquarium. Great. Oh, I want to go on a cruise. Great. And it like one of those like harbor cruises. And I just got to do whatever it was in the moment I thought I wanted to. I got to be as spontaneous as I want, or do as little as I want. Like I went back and took a nap one day in the hotel. And so that was kind of a big realization for me. And you and I discussed it when I came home, and I said, Sherry, like, I think I need to go on more solo trips by myself, because there was an element of how I felt that I was so rested and renewed, even from such a short trip. And so we had a discussion, and you said, like, if you went on a trip with me to Seattle, but I had the day to myself.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, so if I go on a trip with you, but I'm like, I'm just going to hang out at the hotel all day, which sounds great to me. I can order room service, or I can order DoorDash, or, I can sit and read all day or watch more episodes of New Girl. Like, it's like, nope. Okay, I'm fine with that. And you were like, nope, because you're there. So I'm going to be worried about, are you bored? Are you eating? Have you ordered your lunch? Are you okay? Is there something you need me to bring you? Like,
if you are with me, even not physically, but on the same trip, if we're in the same city, I'm going to be thinking about your needs. Right. I'm going to be thinking about you. And like, I will not do something, or I would do something simply because of that.
Right. Whereas, if you're on your trip by yourself and I'm home, I'm in my comfort area. And so, I have plenty of food in the fridge. I can also order DoorDash. I have all of my books. I have all of my TVs. I have things that I have all of my friends here in town. Like, if I'm bored, I can go do things, and you're not worried about that.
Well, I'm also so separated from it that I'm limited on what I can do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I can't, like, be like, hey, Sherry, let's go to Barnes & Noble. I can't, you know what I mean? Like, do things that I think you would enjoy because I'm 1,400 miles away. And so that was my realization, was like, even as an extrovert, I need that separation. I need that time alone, to just kind of go do my own thing and even figure out what I like to do.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting. It was so baffling to me. Like, oh my gosh, why on this trip do I feel so alive? It was such a short trip. And it was because, I learned some things about myself. Like, I have not done a good job of prioritizing myself and giving myself like space to do that. Right. And so, like, I don't know what it looks like. I mean, Sherry and I started talking a little bit about that. And I think some of it is, maybe a couple times a year I do a solo trip, where I just find a concert, even like going to the concert, like going to the Lumineers and buying a pit ticket. I would never buy a pit ticket with you because that is hell.
It's a crush of people, which stresses me the hell out. Also, I'm 5 feet tall. I'm sorry, 5 feet and 1/4
And
inch.
so I'm never thinking about like, how can I enjoy this concert? I'm always thinking about where can I position Sherry so she can see.
Right.
And it's like, okay, we need to move over here so Sherry gets a better view of the stage. Oh, Sherry's.
Oh, somebody who's 6'4" just stood right in front of her. We need to move again.
Yep, we're gonna move again. And I'm literally constantly thinking about your needs.
Right.
And so to be in an environment where like I can't do that, and I just get to think about like, you know what? I know I just had a donut. I'm gonna have an ice cream.
Right.
You know, like just
Yep.
whatever I want to do was so weird. It was such a strange thing that I was like, oh my God, I love this. Like,
Yeah.
I need this. And so
You do need it, and that's the thing is that, like, when you came home, you were so sore, like physically, because you had walked everywhere in Seattle,
miles and miles and miles.
Yep.
I will just,
uphill, like all over the place.
because for me, I just love going and walking, and it's random store, pop in the store, random
But we
coffee
can't
shop,
do
sit.
that with me because I have limited walking ability. So
Totally.
yeah,
Yep.
so we take a lot of Ubers and we just know where we're going and we just go. Whereas with you, you can just wander and you don't have to worry about me. And
I am a wanderer.
You are a wanderer. And that's like, so you came home so physically sore, but so much more yourself than I have seen in a long time. Because you were mentally and emotionally renewed from 2.5 days.
2.5 days. Isn't
Yeah.
that crazy?
Like that's all it took. And you were just so much more you after giving yourself that time. And so I'm all for it. Like, take the time you need because it's so healthy for you. And you need to do that more.
And it's not just you, it's literally anybody I'm with. If I
Right.
did a guys trip, I'll be thinking about what the other guys wanted to do and needed.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like I would not, like I will never ever prioritize myself in the presence of other people. I will always think about like what they need.
Yeah.
And so I have to be intentional to not do that. But like, even if I go on a trip, so this trip to Seattle, I went and saw a buddy of mine, but it was like literally the last part of the last day.
He drove you to the airport.
Right. And so it's like, it was just like the very end of the trip.
Right.
And so that was like totally different. Cause it was like, well, I'm not hanging out with somebody. We're just meeting up for like this one little window of time. So yeah, I don't know. That was, it sounds so weird to say that like I'm 45 years old and I'm just learning that about myself. But I've used that excuse of like, oh, I'm an extrovert, so I always have to be around people, which I do love. Like
Right.
I love when we travel with friends. I love when I travel with you. I love when I travel even like work stuff with Allison. I love when I like just travel, but the part of travel I have not been good at is prioritizing myself in the kind of trips that I need.
Yep.
So very interesting. And it's been interesting to think about like, okay, what other trips would I do by myself? Like, what would I do? I don't know. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of concerts with pit tickets
And that's fine.
and sporting events.
Because I hate that.
It sounds
So-
like hell to you.
You go do all of those to your cute little heart's content because I want nothing to do with that.
And I will say that actually, I thought about that a lot in Seattle. Like when at the end of the day, I would just hurt so bad from all the walking, but it was like the best pain. Like it was like, oh my God, I hurt because I was doing something I really love. But there were so many times on this trip where I was like, oh gosh, Sherry would hate this so much. Like this would not be fun.
You actually even texted me, I think, from
That's right.
like from the concert, and you were like, "I'm having the best time. You would hate this.
Yeah, I was like, I have the time of my life, and you would hate everything about this.
You would hate every second of this."
Oh my God, it was so true. So
Yep.
that is what I have learned about myself.
Yeah,
And
proud of you.
thank you. It's good. Sherry Beth, we're going to turn the attention on you.
Oh boy.
Yours a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
What's one thing you've learned about yourself recently?
I don't know. Well, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if it's so much about myself, but I think that it is a mind shift, I think, for me. So we have been involved in something we've been calling the table, which is our church expression.
Yep, our little house church.
Yep. And that to me has been very healing, very eye-opening, I think. And, so I was raised in the evangelical American church and really, told my whole life, this is what church looks like. these parameters. If it's outside of these parameters, it's not church.
And to be fair, I mean, that's kind of what American church is.
Right.
Like, church looks like this.
It looks like this. And this does not look like that. And, but it is still so healthy and so life-giving. And I think for me, it's been, and it took me a little bit, I think, to kind of actually wrap my brain around, oh, this is actually church for us. This is,
because it was weird to call it church.
It still kind of is, just because of the association I think I have with the word church.
Is it because, can I ask you some questions on this? Because, so you and I were raised very different.
Yep.
But like your whole life, you've been raised in this model of church, where it's like there's a band, there's a pulpit, there's a speaker, there's, chairs or pews, there's a building, there's salaries.
Right. This is what it looks like.
This is what it looks like.
Yep.
And is it because those things don't exist that it's weird to call it church? Because church is supposed to have these things?
I think so. I think that's part of it. That, for my whole life, like, it is like church is within these parameters. Anything outside of this is not actually church. And so I think, for me, and we've touched into it a little bit too, but like some wounding and stuff that has occurred as well. And so I think that church to me kind of means this thing. And so for me, the table is, it does not look like that. It does not feel like that. It does not sound like that. And so it's hard for me to call it church, but it is. That's what it is. And it's been great. And I think that, we had it for a little bit. I think when we first got married, we had, the community of our, young married kind of group, that we did things outside of the church building as well. We were with this group like 4, 5, 6, 7 nights a week. We were doing things outside of church, and then we'd also go to church together. And we haven't had that for a long time. And so I think that for me, like the community side of it is really great. I meet with the women from this group outside of the table, outside of kind of our meeting time. We meet and just have dinner, and we discuss what God's doing in our lives, and we discuss books that we're reading, or the Bible chapters that we're reading, or whatever. And it's very lightweight. It's very freeing, I think. Because it's not within those parameters, but it's still church.
As we were talking about this earlier, I was trying to kind of wrap my head around that, just trying to view it from like your perspective and like how, like your experiences. And I think for you, church has largely been program, like church as program. Whereas what's interesting is what you and I want so badly is we want church as family. Like we want like family on mission. We want like, here's the thing, man. When Sherry got sick, it was church, and I mean church as people who ran into our life, that like cared so well for us. It was like that kind of stuff. Like we've been very fortunate to experience church as family. And I feel like this, but maybe never quite as strong as we are right now.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a big deal, because I'll be very honest. You and I haven't talked about sharing this. There was a part of both of us where it's like, man, I'm just so sick of like so much of what I've seen the American church become. There's a part of me that just wants to like take my ball and go be by myself. It's like,
I don't want to have anything to do with that.
We're just going to follow Jesus by ourselves and with our cat. Like, I'm just going to like leave that because it just pisses me off.
Yeah.
And it looks so little like what I think Jesus looked like. And then all of a sudden, so here's even how we got here. Sherry and I were praying because we're kind of in a transition season. And I think like a lot of people, it's like, oh, well, I got to find, quote unquote, find a new church. Got a church shop, which is such a such a shitty term. And so you
Yeah.
ask the question, it's like, okay, well, what church are we supposed to go to? What church are we supposed to go to? And we were asking that question, like, where should we go to church? Where should we go to church? And we both really felt like, or I certainly felt like this, almost like this reprimand from God to stop asking that question. And the question changed from that to like what we felt like we were supposed to ask was, what is church supposed to look like?
Yeah.
Not where are we supposed to go? What is church supposed to look like? And
Not
that's
what are we supposed to consume, but what is it supposed to look like?
and that's a weird question to ask because it's like, well, what do you mean church looks one way?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's a weird thing to feel like God told you that like it's like, what do you mean? Like I know what church looks like. It looks like a flow sheet and a service, and there's a, you know what I mean, like a
Yeah.
6-figure pastor in a multi-million-dollar building, and all this kind of stuff. And it's like that's what it looks like. And so when we started asking that question, like what's church supposed to look like, is when we got connected to this group, to the table. And it's what's cool is that it's largely people that have loved us well for years.
Yeah.
You know, that's the most amazing thing is like, these are people that have like been Jesus to us and they have run in when everybody else has run out. And so it felt so easy to step in as family with them.
Yeah.
And what Sherry and I were talking about before this is that church falls into two things. There is the form of church and then there's the function of church. When most people think of church, they think of the form of church. It's what we were talking about earlier. It's
supposed to be within these parameters. This is what it's supposed to look like.
It's a band, it's a pastor, it's a, you know what I mean? There's an Awana program on Sunday night. There's this, there's that, there's this, there's that. It's the form of church. But the reality is that if you look both at scripture and at church history, the form of church has looked very different. Like throughout church history, church has looked like New Testament gathering in homes, right? Like families sharing meals together, that kind of stuff, all the way up to like the modern megachurch of today. Like the form of church, there is huge variety in what that can look like.
Right.
The function of the church is like more, I think, clear in scripture. It's, you know, the gathering together for prayers, for teaching, for, you know, the sacraments, for those kind of things.
Right.
However, the function of the church can be done in living rooms or auditoriums. But most of us, and I think this is what's so beautiful about what you're learning about yourself, you are learning that the function of the church can happen around a table with friends and wine and good food.
Yeah.
As much as it can with a flow sheet and a band.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
For me, I think it's more. I think that I'm finding the function that we have as the table to be better for me than the form that I was raised with.
And that's what you're learning
And
about yourself.
the form that we've kind of known our whole lives.
So as you're learning, like, why do you think that is? What do you think it is about that is?
I think for me, it's the community. It's the fact that we can, you know, we have a WhatsApp group and with everybody in the table, and if we have any prayer requests at any time, we put it in there and people are immediately like, yep, praying, let us know how that goes. And they check back. They're like, how are things going with this? It's family, it's community, it's and I think that it's not impossible, but it's harder to find that in a large corporate setting, I think. Which is where, you know, I think small groups come in and, you know, that kind of stuff, because you have to make it smaller. You can't get that kind of community with 4,000 people. And so for me, like, that's what I think is making the table so special and is changing my thought, just the way that I think church functions.
One of the things
forms, maybe.
One of the things I've seen you, I don't know if enjoy is the right word, that I've seen kind of come out in you since we joined the table, is that because it is a group that is wildly different from each other. Like there are varying beliefs about theology and politics and like the world we live in and lots of different stuff. But we have had some very like beautiful conversations about some very divisive topics.
Mm-hmm.
And the conversations that you and I have after those like evenings are always so good. And I think of a number of times that you've been like, I've never been in a church where we could have had that conversation that openly and literally everybody left loving each other and with hugs.
Right.
Like
yeah,
that.
No hard feelings, no like just honest, open discussion on both sides of an issue. And yeah, I mean, it's beautiful and it's thought-provoking and it's deep.
Yeah,
and it's authentic.
Yeah, I've liked watching you kind of wrestle with that. And I think I've liked watching you discover, I think a lot of times some of the messaging we get is like, man, maybe church isn't for me, right? Because largely I don't feel like I fit in this form of church.
Right.
The problem is like, there is a form of church out there for every person. I fully believe that because I think that we were created for community. And so maybe the form of church you have been in or were in just wasn't the form that like you best connect with God and with others.
Right.
And like you've learned that it's like, oh wait, I can still have that somewhere else.
So find the form that works for you or create the form that works for you.
Yeah.
And keep those close-handed kind of functions of the church, like what you were saying, you know, the gathering and the community and, you know, that kind of stuff. Keep that, and make it fit what you need. I think like you don't have to go to a building for an hour every week. Like that's not what you need to do.
Yeah. This week you went to a taco place with like the ladies,
and then we went to a brewery.
Yeah, that's the thing is like tacos and brewery can look like church as much as like steeples and pews, and that, you know, because like that's the form that church looks like for us.
Mm-hmm. And the kind of discussion that we had sitting at that brewery was deep and spiritual, and it was authentic and fantastic.
Yeah, I love that.
Yep.
I think that's an encouraging thing to, like, for both of us, like kind of the thing that we've learned also requires a little bit of unlearning.
Yeah.
You know, that it's not just like, oh, I have this new aha, like light bulb moment about myself. It's also like, oh, like there's some things about myself, like for me, that I need to unlearn as far as maybe even the unhealthiness in me about people pleasing, you know, and the intention, like, oh, I really have not been good about caring for myself in this ways. And for you, it's like, oh, I've like, while the form of church you were raised in may not have been bad, it just may not have been the way you best connect.
Right. Yep.
And so it's like, okay, so I have some unlearning to do. And as I do that, like I'm getting to discover a part of God and a part of community and a part of faith that like, I maybe didn't realize was there.
Yeah.
I freaking love that.
Me too.
And I will say yours, I'm going to have a sip of water. Yours is a really good one because I feel like it's also similar for me. Like, you know, I was a pastor at a mega church, you know? And so it's like, I've spent so much time in one form of church, and it's crazy to me that 20 people in a living room, I just, maybe for the most in my life, I'm just like, gosh, this really feels like what I had always wanted church to be.
It feels like, yeah, like it's healthy, and I think it's pointing us to Jesus in a way that I've been missing for a long time.
Jeez. I think you can end there. That's, wow. I think that's the very best. So there you go, you guys. Here's what I want to know. How many of you would be vulnerable enough to share something about yourself you've learned recently?
Yeah.
Want to know. You don't have to go into details. It could just be a short thing. It could be a long thing.
And it doesn't have to be super deep.
No, it doesn't
Just
have to
something
be.
you've learned about yourself.
Maybe it's like, you know what? I freaking hate Brussels sprouts. Maybe that's what you've learned. It's like, you know what? I'm sick and tired of being pressured into liking Brussels sprouts. Stop putting Brussels sprouts in everything. You guys, actually, I really like Brussels sprouts. We had them for dinner last night.
It's fine.
And they're so good.
They
I
really are.
don't know why Brussels sprouts pop in my head.
I think because most people don't like them, but
That's true.
they just haven't had them cooked correctly.
I agree.
I think.
So what you're going to do is you're going to go to YouTube, search LeggLife, find episode 166, this one right here, and leave a comment there. Let us know what that thing is that you're learning. You guys, we have missed you. I'm glad that we got a podcast
Me too.
back up. I always enjoy when we do this. I miss it when we don't.
Yep.
But I feel like we typically live our life so last minute. In fact, I was talking to a friend recently. I was editing a vlog. Well, no, I was about to. It was like 8 p.m. on a, I don't know, Tuesday night. And I hadn't even started editing the vlog for Wednesday. And most people are like days ahead. Not me. I'm minutes ahead. And so the problem is like, if something happens, then it's just like things get pushed off.
Well, and I feel like I always forget about the podcast until like Saturday afternoon. I'm like, oh, we need to do a
Oh, that was this morning.
That was
I
supposed to
know.
be posted this morning. Well,
Gosh.
damn. Maybe we'll try it next week.
Ugh. All right, friends.
The worst.
We love you so much. Thanks for listening. We will see you next week on the next LeggLife Podcast. Bye.
Bye.